guys, welcome back to my channel. So today's video, if you couldn't tell by the title, we are going to be doing a vocal ranking of the girl group Twice. A lot of you have been begging me to do another video where I talk about vocals, so I finally decided that I would deliver. So before we get into this video, I have to give some disclaimers because I want to make a few things very, very clear. Number one, I'm a classically trained singer. I've been singing for many, many years. This is my ranking based on my training. I am not saying that my opinion is the only right one. This is just my ranking from what I personally have learned as a singer. I've been attacked before for not using more technical terms when describing vocals or just quote unquote throwing words out there. The reason for this is because I know the majority of you are not singers and that you won't understand anything I say if I start droning on about vocal terms. I also know that a lot of you are here because you want me to rank your faves vocals and that you don't want to listen to me lecture on about proper vocal technique. This is not a voice lesson video. I want to make that perfectly clear. This is a vocal ranking video, and because most of you are not singers, I will be describing things in layman's terms, meaning that what I say in this video will be dumbed down and summarized so that I'm not confusing those of you who have no idea what I'm talking about. And number three, this is not meant as an attack on Twice. I do not have any kind of hidden agenda, and Twice, as many of you know, is my favorite girl group behind Red Velvet. This is simply just my opinion on each of the members' voices, and I will do my best to be as respectful as possible, and I expect the same from you all. Any hate in the comments will be deleted, and you will be blocked. So, with all of that out of the way, let's just get into the video. So before I get into my analysis of Momo's voice, I want to address the most common belief about Momo's voice, which is that she's being quote-unquote forced by JYP to sing in a fake voice. And while there is evidence to suggest that this might be true, my analysis is going to be focusing on the voice that Momo has used ever since debuting in Twice, so I will not be talking about her possibly faking her voice. There are plenty of videos out there that do talk about it, so if you want to go deeper into that, you can go find one of those videos, but I will be focusing on the voice that Momo uses in every single comeback. Like almost every member of Twice, Momo has good breath control. This is crucial in singing and even more important when you're singing and dancing, and she has the basics of singing down, and with proper training her voice will only improve. Momo's voice is underdeveloped. She lacks versatility, range, and has the tendency to be pitchy at times. Because of this, in many of Twice's songs, she ends up getting the parts of the song that are the least vocally challenging. JYP limits her to the parts of the song that are the most quote-unquote boring, and her vocal color is also pretty nasally, which, whether or not this is natural, I do not know, but it can lead to her voice sounding whiny. Mina's voice, similar to Momo, strikes me as underdeveloped. She's different from Momo in the sense that she's more flexible than Momo in her range. I believe that Mina's voice suits Twice's concept well, which is why she's often getting the same amount of lines as the lead or main vocalist in the group. Like I said, Mina's voice is one of the best in the group, suited to Twice's concept. In addition, she has a wide range and quote-unquote delicate sounding voice, and in slower, softer sounding songs like ballads, her voice can be very beautiful. Mina lacks proper support and power when she sings, leading to her voice sounding weak and quote-unquote hollow. She also tends to lack expression when she sings, but this is often covered up by the fact that she has a wide range. I believe that she relies heavily on the fact that the part of the song that she's singing will quote-unquote build her expression in for her, and sometimes this does work, but when she's given a simpler part of the song to sing, her lack of expression begins to show. The only way I can really describe Diane's voice is that it's pretty average. I feel like Diane's vocals are a perfect example of where every idol should be by the time they debut. Her voice suits Twice's concept, but does so without sounding overbearingly cute or nasally. I'd say that Diane is one of the staple voices in Twice, along with Chaeyoung, as her voice is universal and she has mastered the basics. Like I said, Diane has perfected the basics of vocal performance, such as stamina and projection, which are crucial when singing and dancing. I would describe her voice as universal. Like I said, I don't necessarily think that she's versatile, as her voice doesn't really adapt to what genre she's singing, but I think that naturally her voice is fluid, and I don't think that there's one specific genre that she sounds the best in. Diane's lack of expression, her lack of ability to adapt to the genre of the song that she's singing can be a strength at times, but it can also be a weakness, and it can cause her voice to sound dull, which leads to her sometimes being uninteresting to listen to. And similar to Momo, she lacks range, leading to her being given either the easiest parts of the song or only rapping parts. I firmly believe that Tzuyu is the member who has improved the most since debut. Tzuyu debuted when she was 16, and it's not uncommon for idols who are still teenagers to have underdeveloped voices, as they've either started or are in the middle of puberty. And as of recent years, Tzuyu has improved immensely, and if you compare her vocals from the beginning of her career to the present day, you'll hear a big difference. Like I said, I think that Tzuyu has improved the most since Twice's debut. She has some of the best stamina in the group and is extremely stable during live performances. She's also very good at projecting her voice without sounding like she's shouting. Chuyu's voice can be sort of bland at times. She lacks expression, and similar to Daehyun, she doesn't really know how to adapt her voice to the genre of the song that she's singing. It also sometimes sounds like she has a very strong voice behind her, but I feel like the lack of confidence when she sings can lead her voice to sounding weaker than it actually is. So, when I was writing this ranking, I struggled the most with defining Sana's voice. I feel like her voice has changed a lot throughout the course of her time in Twice, and I would define Sana as the perfect idol singer. Her voice is exactly what many companies look for in female idols, and I feel like there are many groups out there who are trying to replicate their own Sana in their groups. Sana has a beautiful vocal color. It's delicate and sweet sounding without sounding hollow or unsupported. She's also one of the best at projecting, and she has good stamina as well. Sana lacks agility, which leads her voice to sound very quote unquote stiff at times, and she also lacks range, but I do feel like she's gotten better about improving on this in recent years. I feel like Chaeyoung's voice is the most underappreciated in Twice, and many people don't really understand what a good vocalist she is. Part of this has to do with the fact that she gets the least amount of lines, but in my opinion, she doesn't get nearly as much hype for her voice as she deserves. Chaeyoung's voice is universally likable, and out of all of Twice, I would say that she's the most versatile. She easily adapts to whatever genre she's singing and knows how to extract the best sound out of her voice, regardless of what type of song she's singing. There are many main rappers in K-pop who are thrown into the position because they're weak vocalists, and I don't think that this is the case with Chaeyoung. She exceeds in both her rapping and her singing. The only criticism I would really give Chaeyoung is that her voice isn't very powerful and her vocal color is naturally softer. This isn't her fault, as vocal color is one of the few things in singing that you don't really have control over, but in my opinion, this is the only thing preventing her from having a lead vocal position in Twice. Nayeon, in my opinion, is the representative vocal of Twice. I feel like whenever somebody thinks about Twice, they immediately focus on Nayeon's voice. She easily fits Twice's concept the best, and her voice represents the group. Nayeon is very good at expression in genres she knows that she's good at. Songs like TT, Dance the Night Away, and Likey showcase this ability of hers the best. And she also has a beautiful vibrato, but unlike many idols, she knows when and where she should use it, as there are plenty of songs in Twice's discography where her vibrato would not necessarily be appropriate. Nayeon lacks versatility, and I feel like if Twice were to change their concept, which they're kind of in the middle of doing, she would struggle the most with the change. She also struggles with stamina when she's singing live, and her higher register is relatively weak. So for Junghyun and Jihyo, I could not choose one over the other. While they both have very different voices, I would say that they're evenly matched in terms of technique. I do prefer Junghyun's voice over Jihyo's, but basing this less off of personal preference and purely off of their skill, I would say that they're both equal in their talent, and I would argue that they should both be the main vocalists of Twice. Junghyun makes the least amount of mistakes when she sings, and I would go as far to say that she might even have relative pitch. Her voice is crisp and clean, and she arguably has the best control over her voice in the whole group. Limited expression and projection. I think that Junghyun has gotten better with her projection over time, as it used to sound like she was yelling while singing, but there are still times when she resorts to this instead of supporting her voice properly. As for expression, this might be the fault of JYP and the parts that they give her, but throughout Twice's career it's begun to sound like Junghyun's expression is limited to an almost belty sort of sound. However, with the release of Feel Special, it feels like Junghyun is capable of showing more different expressions, and I hope that this is showcased more in the future. Jihyo is easily the strongest voice out of all of the members in Twice. Her biggest strength, and likely the reason why she's the main vocalist, is her breath control and support, which is unmatched by anyone else in Twice. She also has the most agile voice out of all of the members in Twice, and combined with the power her voice already has, she creates the perfect quote-unquote powerhouse voice in the group. Like Junghyun, her expression is limited, and she also has the tendency to oversing and belt in songs where it's not really appropriate. I'm not sure if this is the fault of the company or if this is how she chooses to sing, but I feel like this tendency to oversing is why she usually only sings during the chorus or the bridge, which is when the songs are usually at their peak. So overall, out of a score of 10, I would give Twice a 7 out of 10 for vocals. I believe that the majority of them have made significant progress since their debut, and with proper training, we can see them grow as vocalists even more in the future. I do, however, think that their vocals are relatively average. They're not bad by any means, but they don't stick out of the crowd in comparison to other groups that they're competing alongside with. But yeah, that's all for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed. Like I said, please don't leave hate in the comments. Please be respectful. I don't want to have to block anyone. I don't want to get in arguments with anyone, and I don't want anyone arguing in the comments among each other. But yeah, that's all for this video. I love you guys, and I will see you in my next one. Bye!